to a brand new episode of the Kistler O'Brien Podcast. I'm Tyler Trumbauer with Kistler O'Brien Fire Protection, as we have a brand new episode for you here today, and I think a pretty special one when you look back in the history of all of our previous episodes. Speaking of those, if you've missed any, you can check them out on our YouTube channel, Kistler O'Brien Fire Protection, as well as Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a search, Kistler O'Brien Podcast. So as you guys may have seen, if you're watching this on the video version, we got a different logo in the corner of our video screen. The traditional Kistler O'Brien logo with a little bit of a twist, and that's what we're going to dive into today. As I welcome in our two guests for this episode, Jeremy O'Connor and Tom O'Connor from Encore Fire Protection. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining me today and giving me a few minutes of your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate the time as always. And so let's just dive into this right away, folks. So Kistler O'Brien Fire Protection, powered by Encore, is the logo that you've seen on our podcast here today, as well as other platforms. If you follow us on social media and our website, you've started to see a shift over the last few weeks. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. What is that exactly? How did we get to this point? And what does that mean moving forward in 2024 and beyond? It's a new era. It's a new chapter for Kistler O'Brien, but it's an exciting one here for the organization. So before we get really into all of that, let's learn a little bit more about who is Encore Fire Protection. And Jeremy, just, I'll start with you, and Tom, feel free to chime in as well. Please tell us a little bit about Encore and how it became the organization that it is today here in March 2024.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's Encore's been around in one form or another for a very long time, and it essentially started. Tom and I. Our father was a sprinkler fitter, and that's how we got introduced to the fire protection game. And so it's always, fire protection has been a huge part of our life ever since we could walk. And in 2000, our father had started a business in Rhode Island and had grown it over the years. And in 2000, asked my brother and I to join him, and that was the inception of what is now Encore. It has gone through different iterations, and ultimately, what it came down to is we recognized, and I think a lot of other people in the industry who had solid businesses recognized that, there's an opportunity to collaborate and join together and really deliver, the best holistic soup to nuts service and install for customers. That's what they were looking for. And a lot of folks have just we rebranded the company as Encore back in 2010, and a lot of folks just joined together and aligned under that kind of badge, and here we are today.
Absolutely, and great history for us right there. So that's Encore Fire Protection, and for those of you maybe in the greater Lehigh Valley area, the tri-state area of Pennsylvania that may not be more accustomed to the name, that's because you got to go a little bit more north, and that's where these guys are very well known and headquartered, and that's where they're at. And now they're starting to reach down into this region here in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware, where Kistler O'Brien works and operates and has been for the last 9+ decades. So that's Encore, Kistler O'Brien on their journey as well. And then to kind of fill in the gaps and tell this story, late 2023, a partnership takes place officially between Encore Fire Protection and Kistler O'Brien Fire Protection. So, Tom, if you can kind of fill in the gaps there, color between the lines, and really what made a partnership ultimately with Kistler O'Brien so attractive?
Well, I think it's obvious to those of us that are inside. It comes down to people. That's what Encore focuses on. That's what we've been able to attract and retain. Quality people that are driving amazing customer service for the people we serve. And I mean, who doesn't know about Kistler O'Brien's 9 decades of brand awareness and building? The cultures were very aligned. The business model was very aligned. The service focus was very aligned. So Kistler made a sense from a lot of perspectives. And then, as you just mentioned, I think the second biggest factor was starting to reach out of New England, New York, New Jersey, we've got a pretty good presence, but getting into Pennsylvania, and then being able to grow from such a large, reputable location and brand, Kistler O'Brien. So I think both the geographic reach and the cultural and the people alignment.
Yeah, and it's what. Oh, sorry. Just to add in, I mean, it's one of the to kind of tether back to the first question as well. I mean, Tom and I have been in this industry so long. We're not just we've known about Kistler. That reputation has preceded itself since we've been in the industry, and so not only are we aligned, we were just happy that Kistler was aligned with us, and it's just great to find an awesome partner, and we feel really privileged to be kind of part of this thing with them.
I was just going to say, I'll take the credit for the brand awareness of the podcast, I'm sure, getting
There
us
you go.
out there. But I knew, Tom, what you meant. You didn't really need to say it, so I did it for you. So, gentlemen, let's kind of dive in here. It's been about, 6 months or so since things have been a little bit more formalized in the partnership, and we've been working together closer. What have been your initial takeaways, Jeremy, so far, since being a outsider that has been watching closely KOB's growth and success to moving in?
You know, oh, sorry, I'll let Tom go further, but
let me jump in on that one. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway is Jeremy and I always, you have to know this, we have a humble but hungry approach, and to have such a reputable, long-standing business also have such a humble and hungry approach to collaboration. I think the biggest takeaway, without saying any names specifically internally at Kistler, somebody was commenting about their confidence in the partnership, both before the deal and then after the deal. And I think I'll steal the line and say that, I'm 1000% more confident even than I was as we were progressing, because the collaborative effort and the eagerness to really have synergies, 1 + 1 = 3, both for the people internally as well as the customers we're serving, has been exceptional relative to a lot of traditional partnerships.
Absolutely. And, I think that's something that is true on the inside as well. Folks were excited to hear about it and have only grown in the confidence that they have with Encore and what that means for the next chapter of Kistler O'Brien and what it means moving forward for both organizations. So, Jeremy, now Kistler O'Brien and Encore are not just the only two in this partnership. There's a whole family within the Encore Fire Protection umbrella. So kind of, if you could kind of maybe tell that side of the story of, Kistler O'Brien is who we're talking about today. That's who we are. And we're one of the new kids on the block. But what about the rest of the family members that are already part and how it all works together?
Yeah, great question. So we've recognized, right, that, to be the best in the fire protection space, you got to be able to cover densely, you got to be able to cover regions, and you got to be able to service customers no matter where they are. And we've been lucky over the years to partner with many, many great companies and teams. And they stretch all the way from Maine, the tip of Maine, all the way up to the border, over to Vermont, all the way down, as Tom talked about, Kistler O'Brien is kind of the southern front of the whole thing, but everything in between, New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut. We've partnered with over 45 folks in the past 4 or 5 years. And the thing about it is, it's not about the numbers or necessarily the geo covered. I think a lot of the things we're talking about as far as cultural alignment, willingness to share and grow, and that overarching people focus. Like if you go into the partners in Maine, or you go into the partners in Vermont, or you can go have a cup of coffee in Massachusetts, it's all a very similar vibe. And that's the thing that I think everyone is most excited about, because you can do a lot of that when people are aligned under the same mission and kind of cut from the same cloth. There's a lot of success to be had.
Certainly, and it's already seeing in fruition here at Kistler O'Brien, where there's that camaraderie between the different organizations within the family, within Encore Corporate, and kind of how that all gels with Kistler O'Brien. And I think Kistler O'Brien takes pride in, if I can say, in being one of the leaders in your family as well, and being to sponge off what you and your other partners have done well, but also maybe kind of open the doors to what we've done well over 9+ decades and kind of share that wisdom. It's quite the melting pot that, like you said, has allowed Encore overall to all just rise up and be one of the best in the industry. And I think, Tom, that's probably got to be satisfying. I know the job's not done yet, but to see your plan, your mission kind of really progressing quite well of, hey, let's get the best people together and just let them do what they do.
Yeah. I mean, well said. I mean, our whole mission, back to the humble and hungry, is we always recognized that there were people out there that are probably doing it equal or better than us, culturally, service delivery. And so to partner up with Kistler O'Brien, it just raises the level of the game for everybody on the team. And to watch that collaboration just start organically, when you put a bunch of smart, motivated people together, to watch them already asking other offices to do this work and collaborating, sharing technical knowledge, vehicle systems. I mean, the effort and motivation around that is really what is propelling us to really on our journey to be the best.
Certainly. So now as you're working with Kistler O'Brien and you're becoming more and more part of the fabric of our operations and in all different corners, and like I've talked about at the top of this episode, the marketing and the branding starting to incorporate Encore, and our folks will see more of that in our marketplace here in the greater Lehigh Valley, Delaware Valley, South Central Pennsylvania region. What should our customers and others in the region now expect with this partnership? What might change? What stays the same? What would they expect if they're an outsider looking at Kistler O'Brien? And more importantly, if they're a current customer of KOB? Either of you guys feel free to take that.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Jeremy can add, but I think the main thing for people looking at this partnership specifically, they shouldn't feel a lot other than maybe a deeper bench, in terms of technical support, being able to cover more ground. One of the biggest things I think we're able to offer is when we partner with someone new, they're like, hey, I've always wanted to do this work for so-and-so up in Connecticut, or can we handle these folks in New York? And I think that's probably one of the biggest things where customers may feel that and be like, wow, this is great. That's usually a standard improvement or enhancement. But day to day, they should feel the Kistler service. They should feel the Kistler responsiveness. Encore's model is to enable and enhance from the background, not come in and necessarily run anything for our partners because they're so capable and they have their own motivation. So they shouldn't feel anything. I think the only other thing to comment on is that now that we have this quote unquote Southern front for us, we can now build around this. We can look for other quality partners in the region that can create more density for Kistler O'Brien, and we have that expertise to be able to help the team do that and integrate some other partners right into Kistler O'Brien.
And I think Tom's point about nothing is an important point, right? Kistler O'Brien does excellent work for their customers. Their customers are so committed to them. And I think if those customers, what they want is nothing to change, right? And I think with Encore and our approach, where we're enabling and enhancing great businesses, it's not going to change. We're just here to help support Kistler on them, on you guys, and just continuing to be on that cutting edge and continuing to be great for our customers, great for the people on the team. Whereas, I don't know if that's necessarily the model for some of the other fire protection businesses out there. So nothing is good news for Kistler customers.
Certainly. So, Jeremy, you can confirm now on the podcast that we're not canceled, the KOB podcast. That's still nothing's changing. Okay.
No, absolutely not. Maybe we lengthen it.
Okay.
We might suggest a new host.
Oh, okay. Okay. You're not the first to write in on that one either. We had to shut down the feedback line. But I do appreciate the kind of just clear cut, hey, nothing's changing, right? I mean, and I think that's truly what we've seen internally, right? That I think any Kistler O'Brien employee would say to anyone outside who asked is, hey, listen, there's nothing changing. And if it has, it's only been an enhancement. And that's truly what has been the message since day one and has borne itself out over these first 6 months. And many of our customers likely have not seen any change so far, right? Until maybe their next bill is going to have that new logo on it, or the next van that rolls onto their property might have a new logo or look or feel. There's new vans, number one, thanks to, you know, our partnership and our growth together. But like you said, nothing truly different is going to be a wholesale change overnight. And that consistency and stability has been kind of a staple of working with Kistler O'Brien, and that's going to continue and only be strengthened with the powered by Encore behind it. Absolutely. So going into 2024, we're almost through Q1 now already and into beyond. What does the future look like for Encore, right? I mean, I guess you could say maybe you guys celebrated New Year's last year and maybe said, hey, we got a big fish in 2023. We got Kistler O'Brien. The future is going to look a lot brighter for us. So now we're into that. What is 2024 and beyond for Encore?
I think the future is bright. I mean, the work that our teams do collectively from Maine to Pennsylvania and everywhere in between, and the level of engagement correlated to the growth, right, and the energy around this business. You know, the customers are totally responding to that. And so there will be growth as a result, right? Our customers are the ones who vote on whether we grow or not, number one. But then to Tom's point with Kistler, raising the game for us, both just from a benchmarking best practices, but also from a really, you know, robust business with great relationships, great team to continue to grow and find great partners. I think, you know, Kistler joining our team is an endorsement of what we're doing. And I think that's going to speak volumes for the next partner and the next partner. And there are great teams throughout this region, throughout the country that want to be part of something like this. And I think that we are committed to finding those teams and continuing to try to do right by our customers and grow this business, you know, responsibly, but in a way that I think can turn us to hopefully become the best at some point. Tom, would you add anything to that?
No, well said.
Thanks.
There you go. There you go, Jeremy. So an A+ for you on the response and everything so far, gentlemen. So for our viewers and our listeners out there, if you want to learn more about Encore Fire Protection, you can check them out online, encorefireprotection.com. They'll have more information about them and their family of organizations throughout the New England area, and they're growing. And who knows, they may be closer into your neighborhood before you know it as well. So, gentlemen, I appreciate both of your times giving us a few minutes to shed some insight and kind of talk about the partnership and how Encore and Kistler O'Brien will be working together in this new chapter moving forward. So I do appreciate you guys joining us here on the KOB podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You got it. And thank you to our viewers as well for tuning in. We appreciate you all, and make sure you check out all of our previous episodes on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Until next time, I'm Tyler Trumbauer with Kistler O'Brien Fire Protection.